Our next speaker is Daphne de Croo, and I'm going to host Daphne's presentation, but she hopefully is going to speak to it and tell me when she wants me to move on the slides. Daphne runs Little Woodbatch Market Garden in Bishop's Castle, which she founded in 2017. It's a project that grew out of her doctoral research on sustainable local food policy. So this is the food end of the continuum that we were looking at this morning. And her title is No Such Thing as a Normal Year, Adaptability in a Shropshire Market Garden. Daphne, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for the introduction. I hope everybody's had a nice day so far. So I wanted to tell you a bit about my background in research, how that has translated to the founding of the Market Garden and how it works, and how it has had to change and adapt this year. You can follow our activities on Instagram and Facebook. We do keep things posted, and I do talk a lot about our values and our approaches in how we do things on that. So if we could move to the next slide. Thanks, Nick. So my background is originally coming from Canada. I did a master's in environmental applied science and management, focusing on green roofs and food production in cities. But that brought me to doing a PhD in London at the Centre for Food Policy. And I looked at how different cities across the UK, cities and towns, are developing local level food policies. And the idea behind these food policies is to integrate sustainability and food production, what food production can do in a community to be more sustainable. What I found from that, it was there's so much debate, as you all will know, on what is sustainability. And there's such a broad spectrum of food production and so much debate around how that works. So it made it really difficult for civil society groups and councils to work together to find common ground. Ultimately, what has happened in a lot of the things that I've found is that we compromise so much on how we frame sustainability and local food production that it often undercuts any sort of policy efforts or strategy efforts. We dull down strategies and approaches to such an extent that that they become a bit toothless. What I found as an academic, and what I'm so glad to see in how you're all approaching this conference, is that as academics, we're really good at going to conferences and talking about what everybody should be doing. But there's often very little outcome and action in a practical sense. So after doing many conferences like that, we came to the idea, my husband and I, about starting a market garden, because based on my research, I saw that local level food production done responsibly in a way that connects with the community can have significant impacts. And we were in a position where we wanted to do something practical. So I'll ask Nick to move the slide along, and I'll explain what we're doing with Little Woodbatch in Bishop's Castle. We started in 2017 and promptly had our daughter in early 2018, just as we were starting off the season. You'll see in the images that I have, what we started on was 0.8 of an acre that was originally just a grass field grazed for the better part of 100 years. The first thing we did is we had a neighbor help us to plow it up, and we covered it just in a plastic mulch so that we could kill down weeds without using any chemicals. And we started to transition it into a market garden. What we've done is set up a human scale, is the way we put it. So a bed system that is 30 inches wide, so easy to reach across if you're gardening, and 100 feet long. So a number of these blocks of 8 beds. So we have 8 blocks of 8 beds to keep us busy. We have a large polytunnel, which is 30 foot by 90 foot, a nursery, some long caterpillar tunnels that we can take up and put down as needed. We have developed a forest garden, small orchards that will take the better part of a decade to get established, but they're starting. We dug a wildlife pond, since, as we've heard, watercourses and ponds and lakes have been plowed over for agriculture in the UK. So we wanted to bring back a little bit of that water. In addition to that, our first year, we had a 6-week drought. We've also had drought again this year, and we can expect that to be a new normal. So having a bit of a reservoir is important for what we're doing. We've integrated some pastured laying hens just because this year we've had so much demand from our neighbors for eggs, since there have been periods of shortage in grocery stores. To divide our beds, we've included edible hedges like wild roses for pollinators. We have raspberries, we have currants, we have gooseberries and herbs, just so that brings in an element of trap plants, pollinators, and things that we can include in our veg boxes that are perennials and low maintenance. We do seed saving on the farm, and that's something that we're going to be working with more in our community in the coming year. And we keep bees. So we have a fairly diverse space for 0.8 of an acre. What we started out doing was simply supplying a shop, doing a couple of farmers markets in year 1, and a couple of local restaurants. Then we had more people contact us. We started doing veg boxes in year 2. We started out with 12 at the beginning of the season, and we finished with 18. So that was last year, and we packed a total of 300 veg boxes last year, which was a big accomplishment. This year, because of COVID, we haven't had our restaurants. We've only recently had markets start up again. What has happened is we've had a massive increase in the number of people who contacted us for veg boxes. I was at one point between April to June, I was turning away about 3 people per week, because I couldn't meet the demand for veg boxes. What we have done so far this year is about 35 veg box customers a week for, as of this week, over 650 veg boxes for the season. We are about to finish in the next 2 weeks because we only go from April to October. We don't heat our greenhouses, so what we can continue to produce is, it sort of dwindles, but it's a way of reducing our carbon impact by not heating our greenhouses through the winter. What we have done to approach this, and Nick, if I could get you to move this slide along. What we have done to approach this is we've wanted to connect more with our community through this. So we only supply Bishop's Castle proper. That's what we call a hyper-local approach. We have been approached by restaurants, we have been approached by shops in the surrounding area as far as Shrewsbury and Ludlow, but we've turned them down at this stage because we want to keep things moving in a sustainable progression in terms of what we can manage, and we don't want to be driving all over the place delivering food when there are people in our community who would benefit from it first. So what we did at the beginning of the pandemic is we assessed what our current production capacity is. And in terms of staffing, it's just myself and another part-time employee. So we had to look at how much we thought we could produce, just being in our 3rd year and still very much at the beginning of our learning curve. What we decided to do was go what I call massive overkill, and we would just plant in as much as we could to see how much we would be able to provide for our community. What we have been able to do is, as I said, there's 650 veg boxes thus far, but we have prioritized based on need. So we have included delivery to our local food bank since May every week, because we've all been very much aware of people losing their jobs, losing their incomes. And part of what we have been able to do as a community market garden is see that need and respond to it more quickly than perhaps bigger communities could have. So we have increased the variety of crops that we've produced, the turnaround times on certain things by selecting crops based on that, and who it goes to, basically. It's been, in a sense, an opportunity for us to farm in according to our values in terms of who gets it, because we haven't been focusing on restaurants, which are a wonderful luxury, but rather based on need. An opportunity that the pandemic has given us is greater community connection. Part of our approach coming into starting the market garden, based on my research on sustainability, was a desire to really connect with the community. So it has taken a little while to, in a sense, gain the legitimacy within the community to show people that we really mean it, that we want to be a part of the community. We're not going anywhere. We are growing, in the very literal senses that we keep expanding, so that we're able to produce more year on year. We invite people to see what we're doing. We are going to be having the community college through. We are working to get the local school through, so that we are a resource, a free resource, so that they can have students come and understand about food and the food system. Working with the food bank has been a key thing. And we will be part of local seed saving initiatives, as I mentioned. And I've been part of the steering group for the Marches Grow Local group. And we are hoping to develop an approach to creating a food hub, as well as using the farm as an educational tool. So there are a lot of aspects that we've been able to get more involved and to engage more. And that's one of the privileges of a small operation like we are, just on the outskirts of Bishop's Castle. We're accessible in the physical sense. There's a public footpath right beside us, which was a key drawing feature to our purchase of the farm. But also we want people to come and utilize us as a resource. So we want to reach into the community in a very real sense and provide for our community first. So what I wanted to drive home through this is going back to that demand, that surge in incredible demand that we saw at the beginning of the pandemic, that had nudged us out of our comfort zone to produce more and to take on more veg box customers weekly. There's a huge demand, there's a huge opportunity rather for market gardens. We are the only market garden in Bishop's Castle proper, and there are several surrounding, say in Hopesay and Clun and Craven Arms, but we want to really let people know who are interested in perhaps pursuing this. We're doing this on 0.8 of an acre. We will be doubling to 70, 75 veg boxes next season because we can get that much off of our property while still feeding back into the soil and taking care of our land. But there's demand, and there's a need for more people doing small scale, responsible, organic agriculture and horticulture. So that is what I wanted to drive home. So one thing that people can do is contact the Marches Grow Local group, and we want to bring people together who have land and people who need land and want to start growing. So if that's something that you're able to do, please get in touch with the Marches Grow Local group, and hopefully we can see more people get into market gardening. We are showing just through this little project, we're in year 3 and we're starting to make a profit. It's hard work, but we're definitely seeing an impact and that it is something viable. I see Lizzie has just put the Marches Grow Local initiative in the chat. So if you want to check in on that and get in touch with us, we'd be really happy to hear from you.
Thank you very much. Again, are there any particular questions for Daphne? So this is a real example of a local initiative feeding back into the community, enhancing the carbon content of the soil. It's part of the way forward, and we're fortunate to have local practitioners who are doing this. No,
Nick,
okay, well,
it's Rosie here. I
please,
couldn't get into chat, I'm afraid.
Okay, no, please,
and apologies.
No, not at all.
Thanks. Daphne, it's a lovely project and agree with everything you have to say there. In terms of the carbon capture and storage of your little plot, I think we're all on board with believing that to be much greater than it would be for lots of alternatives. Is there a way that we could help you and similar enterprises count up what your carbon capture value is as part of what the whole Shropshire carbon sink might be?
Yeah, we would definitely be interested in having something like that happen at the farm. One of the main things we want is to be a model So we're small scale. We're able to implement a lot of little projects and do a lot of varied data collection. So if that's something that people are interested in doing alongside us, that would be a wonderful project. We'd be really keen on that.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Well, thank you again, Daphne. We will move on, but as I say, there will be an opportunity at the end for further questions